Hi, I'm Lori with craftroomtime.com, and I'm here to bring you another wonderful video. Please like and subscribe and ring the bell so you get notifications, and here we go. Hi everyone, let's go ahead and get started with the 4th of July project. Go ahead and upload your file, your SVG file, and load it into Cricut, and then you'll see it there, and upload it. And then select it so that the green box is around it and insert your image. And it comes in grouped and ready to go for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to ungroup it. Let's go ahead and make the flag first. So I'm going to move the gnome off to the side. You'll see over here on the right that it's all grayed out and it has a group on it. So just go ahead and hide the gnome. And then we're going to take each one of these independently, the words, and we're going to hit attach for each one of them just to get that out of the way so we don't forget. Okay, let's move the flag off to the side, the words down so we can work on the flag now. It comes in groups, so we want to ungroup it, and we want to select just the reds and hit the shift key so that you select both at the same time, and then in the middle of each of the red stars, click on them. And then over to the right, take a look to make sure you have all the red for the flag selected. And it looks like I have a blue instead of the red on that. I got to start over again. That's okay. It's going to happen. See, it's selecting the blue instead of the red. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the right side and click and shift and click the red there, and then I'm going to click each one of the red stars. So you can click and hit the shift key and click on everything over on the right at the same time or on the image itself. And then just take a look to make sure that you've selected all the red and no blue is selected, and then go ahead and attach. Once you get that done, drag it off so you can make sure that all the red is attached. If it's not attached, all the red, you missed one, just go ahead and hit the back key for the undo button and then try again and select everything. Now it makes it easier when you move it off because now you can select all the blue and just attach all the blue. So when you go to make these on your mat, then they will stay together, and then when you go to put them on your canvas, it'll be much easier to select to put them in the proper place. Okay, and then you're just going to want to select which saying that you want to use above your flag. Any of them will do. Let's see, made in the USA. God bless the USA and happy 4th of July. So I'm going to use the God bless the USA for mine. I love that song that Lee Greenwood did with that, so it's just one of my favorites. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to select each one of these. You'll see it highlights on the right. Just go ahead and click the little eyeball to make it hidden so you won't be cutting anything like that. Okay, so our project's ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and make it. And then it puts all the words together because we attached it, but I do need to mirror it because we're using HTV. And I will mirror each one of these mats. So make sure you mirror all 3 mats. Go ahead and go to continue. If you forgot to mirror, when you select the HTV, it's going to remind you to mirror. Ours is mirrored, so we're good. Leave the default pressure and go ahead and cut. Okay, I'm going to cancel that out and show you how to do the gnome to get it prepared. So let's go find the gnome first. It's going to be at the very bottom because we hit it first. So I'm just going to scroll down till I see the group where it starts the gnome piece. And I'm going to unhide it by clicking on the little eyeball. And then I'll go ahead and I'll select the flag, and I will hide all the things that we attached for the flag. Okay, Now the gnome's kind of small. The flag and the words are already set to what size they need to be for the canvas. But the gnome is kind of small, so you can make him a little bit bigger or smaller depending. You have, if you do the reverse canvas, you have a space of about 5.5 inches tall, or wide, sorry, by 7.5 tall. Okay, so you could make him 7.5 tall. Let me go ahead and see what that does. About 7. It's not going to do it exact, so I'm just going to go ahead and type it in here. 0.5, 7.5, and see. It makes it 4.829, and I said you had 5.5, so that should be good. So you can go ahead and do that now. That size by 7.5 inches tall. I'm going to ungroup the gnome because we have to do a couple things to get it to cut correctly. I'm going to move these down. This right here is already sliced. The letters are already sliced out of the sign. I'm going to do one thing though that I noticed I didn't fix in the file, but when you get it, this piece right here is going to be blue. It just is going to make a good contrast against the beard. If you see, yeah, it looks a little better. Okay. All right. So with that said, let me get these guys back out of the way. Now for the hat, each one of these is independent. So we want to select each of the reds, and you can do it again on the right in the layer bar or on the left. And I'm going to attach the red and then drag the red off to make sure that it's all attached, and it is. And then I'm going to, the white's already grouped, so I'm going to go ahead and attach the white, and the blue should be fine. Okay, so that's all we really need to do. You need to attach the whites and you need to attach the reds. The rest will be fine. All right, then I'm going to go ahead and make it. And since we're doing HTV, again, you need to mirror the project, each one of these, the mats. Okay, I noticed these are two different blues, so I will fix that in the file so they're the same color and they'll print on one mat. If this ever happens to you and you decide that that you can do two things, you can move these over to the other mat one by one, move object and move it to the other mat. And then you just have to move these around to make sure that nothing's over each other. And then you can cut them all on one blue mat. And then I'm not sure what these little dots are. I think they're the little things out of that, so we need to fix that. So let's go ahead and cancel, because I'm going to show you another thing. All right, so because I saw those little pieces cutting out the A's, go ahead and attach your sign so that all of that stays together, and then you won't have those little cuts. And then we're going to look at the blues, and we already know that that one's okay, but we've got some other ones here that are a different blue. So if this ever happens to you, all you do is come up here and keep selecting the same blue, and that will change everything to the correct blue. Okay, I think that was it. Let's change the blue sign and make sure that that is this bright blue. Okay, so now we shouldn't have any different blues. They should all be this bright blue. Okay, so that's kind of I see, these were black. Oh, okay, I see what's happening. This is grouped, so I'm going to ungroup it. This is blue. I'm going to change the pants to the same royal blue. All right, we're good to go now. Go ahead and make it. And I'm going to leave this in the video just to show you that you can change things. I'll fix the file that you get so they're all the same blue, but it was a good opportunity for a teaching lesson. So I no longer have those little pieces cut out and showing up here, and now all the blues are the same color, and I'm just making sure that every mat is mirrored. I'll go back, double check. Okay, then go ahead and continue. And we'll select the heat transfer non-cricket and leave the default pressure. And now you're ready to cut the gnome. And don't forget to save your project. I'm going to cancel the cut. Don't forget to save your project. Especially since you did all that work. If you didn't, it's okay. You could upload it again, but you'll have to do all of the work again. So I have an iron-on collection, so I'm just going to go ahead and save it there. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get this cut for you, and then I'll show you how to assemble it. Be sure to put the shiny side of your vinyl down on your mat. Hey, hi everyone, I'm going to go ahead and get started on showing you how to finish up your 4th of July. I'm going to make both the canvases, the reverse canvas as well as the front of the canvas. So I already showed you how to take out the staples. So all we're going to do is remove the canvas from the frame. And then the frame you're going to want to paint or stain. Either way you do it. Here's the nice frame that you're going to use on the other side. You can fill in the little holes if you like with some wood putty, and if you need to sand it or anything like that, you can certainly do that as well. All right, and then you have your reverse side now, and you can see where you have the ability to work in this space. And then we will go ahead and we will attach that as well. But you can lay your frame on to see exactly where they line up. So what I showed you on those lines that's the outside of the frame. So what you're working on is the inside of the frame when you're laying down your vinyl. So that's going to be very important because this is the space that you're going to see. And if you're working to these, then you won't see for about an inch. These are about an inch. You won't see that if you put it there. So you got to make sure that you're working in this. You can draw some light pencil marks on here to make sure that you are in the right area. If you do that, just get maybe just a little bit on the inside so that you won't see it when you're done. If you do that, then you'll have a good idea of where your design starts and ends. So that's totally up to you, but you can do that, or you can measure this and just be sure that you're working inside of that area. Okay, let me set that aside. I have all my pieces cut, and what I have to do first is I have to weed it, of course. So I have my little gnome nose there. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut just around it just to make it easier and not waste all this vinyl, of course. When you get your piece of pink, it's just going to be big enough to cut out on the nose for the gnome. And then I'm going to use my weeding tool, and what I like to do is just grab the corner, kind of get that going, and then just peel it off. Like that. Okay, and so I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to weed all of the vinyl and cut it first. So I went ahead and I cut out the flag and the gnome at the same time, just to save time. You can do that as well. Just don't forget to mirror everything. Set that aside. Let's get this. And then I kept the gnome. I put the gnome on one side so that I can put it aside, and then the flag on the other side. So I'll go ahead and I'll finish weeding and come back and show you how to put it on the canvas. I've got everything cut now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my heat pad mat underneath my canvas that we've already marked with our pencil. I've set my easy press for 320 degrees for 15 seconds, as recommended by the manufacturer of the heat transfer vinyl. I'm going to go ahead and use my stars and stripes, and I want to go ahead and I want to line the lines up just a little bit over the dots that I had made. And the blue goes in the center. Now I want to point out that since we attached it all together, which is fine, we just want to make sure that when we apply the blue, the stripes, that it's not going to go over the red stars. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these out of this design so that I can lay them over the blue once the blue is done. So, but it's still good that we attached it all. Just when you do this, just leave it attached. Just come around, get around that one star, and then we'll have it done correctly when we go to press. All right, just set that aside. Now that this is still together, we still have it attached, so it's going to work pretty well. So again, I just want to make sure that I'm coming over the edges. The design is meant to come over just a tad bit. And another thing I'm going to do before I do anything is put my frame down on here to make sure that it is covered and that everything is going to be okay. Now I do have it a little too low is what I have it, so I do need to move it up. So let's say that's about in the middle. I think planning out your canvas is important, is an important step to make sure you get everything exactly how you want it. So let's see. Of course, when you go to staple the canvas down, we're going to cut it down a little bit anyway, so we should be good. I think that looks about right, but just to be on the safe side, I'm going to go ahead and take my blue, which should be fine because it's not coming down any further. And then I'm going to take my words and make sure I have enough room for my words, and I do. So that looks good. I'm going to go ahead and put my words on as well at the same time. I press this at the same time. Now you can use a ruler to make sure it's straight. So I'm just going to go edge to edge and see if it looks straight. It looks pretty straight to me. All right. Can also do this off of the canvas, off of the mat, and then have a ruler behind it to make sure it's straight as well. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lay this part down, and then we'll do the blue and the red stripes. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do this. So I'm going to put my easy press on and press my little Cricut guy and hold it on. I'm going to put some pressure on it. I'm not sure if 320 at 15 is going to be long enough or hot enough, but we shall see. Okay, now per the manufacturer's instructions, it also says to wait to pull it off for at least 10 to 15 seconds. And it says to, okay, so according to the manufacturer, it says to peel the carrier cold, so we don't want to peel that until it's cooled down, at least 15 to 30 seconds. So it's not too bad, but I always check first. I don't lift it all up at once to make sure that it did adhere, and it did. I like this vinyl. This vinyl is very, has been very good for me. I've not had any issues with it. So I'm going to peel up all the vinyl transfer sheets, and so far so good. Okay, we'll go ahead and put the blue on and just try to get it lined up on the side and try to get it in the middle to where you like it. So I'm lining it up here and I'm lining it up here as best I can. Press it down really well. Now to protect what I've already done, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the vinyl transfer sheet back on top of it just to protect it while we press again. I'm going to get it on top. I'm going to use pressure again. Okay. Give it a few seconds to cool down. And then our last layer will be the red on top of the blue. But we're going to keep the other transfer sheet as well to make sure, and leave the words on the transfer sheet on the words too, just to make sure. Let me check to make sure that that's stuck, and it did. It's fine. It's good. So far, so good. Keep that transfer sheet though. You're going to need it again. Okay, and then we're going to place the red on top of the blue. And this you can just figure out where you want it, or you can use this end of the where you cut it to see where it was. I'm just going to place it where I want it actually. I think right there is good. Okay, so we want to protect this and we want to protect that, but we don't necessarily want to cover over the transfer because it's going to be too much. So you can use a piece of parchment paper to cover the whole thing and press. Okay, so I'm just going to cover that with parchment paper to make sure the whole thing is covered and protected. And then go ahead and place my easy press on and press down. I'm using pretty medium pressure on the easy press. Okay, I'm going to leave it just a little bit longer because it is going through that parchment paper. Just a couple seconds. Okay. Let's see how that worked. And yep, it worked just perfectly. Let's remove all of that. Move all of that, and voila! I think it turned out really nice. So then our next step is to cut down the canvas, and then we're going to staple the design or the canvas back onto the frame once I get it painted. I'm going to fill in these little holes as well and sand it down a bit. All I'm doing now is just painting the frame, and really seriously, if you don't have any wood putty or anything like that, you can just use your paint to fill in the holes and then just do one coat and then do another coat over it. Canvas is drying. I'm just going to go ahead and cut this down, and we have our lines as to where we can gauge. We just want to cut on the inside of the line so we can staple it to the back of the frame. So we're just going to cut all of this off. And I believe you may want to cut it a little bigger at first because you can always cut it down. If you cut too much off, then you'll have to start all over again. Okay, that should be plenty. And then what we'll do is we'll staple it to the frame once the frame is dry. Is all dry, then what you want to do is lay it down on your canvas and then move your canvas around or your frame around until you have it exactly where you want it. Make sure your words are straight in relation to the frame and that everything is covered and it looks good. Okay, then what you're going to want to do is hold your frame and grab your canvas at the same time and then flip it over so it's staying in the same spot. And then we'll go ahead and we'll tack it to the back of the frame. So we can do this. You can do this with glue. You can do it with double-sided tape. You can do it with a staple gun. There's many choices. I'm going to use a staple gun. Is all dry, then what you want to do is lay it down on your canvas and then move your canvas around or your frame around until you have it exactly where you want it. Make sure your words are straight in relation to the frame and that everything is covered and it looks good. Okay, then what you're going to want to do is hold your frame and grab your canvas at the same time and then flip it over so it's staying in the same spot. And then we'll go ahead and we'll tack it to the back of the frame. So we can do this. You can do this with glue. You can do it with double-sided tape. You can do it with a staple gun. There's many choices. I'm going to use a staple gun. The PowerShot Pro, it's an electric staple gun, and I am just going to put my staples in. We'll just go ahead and trim off any excess canvas that you have. Next, I'm going to show you how to apply the gnome. So what you want to do is, since we're going to do it on the top of the canvas, you can't press it. You have to have something behind this to hold it flat. So I've got a book that just happens to fit right inside, and that's your best option if you can find a book to put inside of that, and then it'll hold it. And it's best if it comes out a little bit so that your frame will be supported, won't be supported, and you're just supporting the canvas. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my gnome on. Okay, so for the gnome, we've got a lot of different pieces. So I think it's probably important to start with the top of the hat and the bottom, or the bottom of the boots, either way. So I'm going to cut out my pieces that I already weeded. So this is the top of his hat. So in order for it to be on the canvas and supported, I have to fill the edge of my book. Now if I want to go all the way to the top, then obviously the book cannot go over the lip here, or I have to be able to raise this a little bit. Either way, but it'll have to be a flat surface if I'm going to go all the way to the end. Otherwise, it's going to not evenly apply the heat to the gnome piece. So I'm going to raise the back up a little bit, and I'm just going to use some paper that I have folded and raise that back up. So now that I have a smooth surface all the way across at the top, and then I'll work my way down to the bottom. So I'm going to start with the hat. This is going to be pretty straight, but I want to go ahead and put everything together first to see how it's going to look. We certainly will not put it all on, but I just need to get an idea. This is the bottom of the hat, so it butts up against the white. So I'm just going to kind of judge this a little bit. This goes up against the nose right there approximately. And then I've got the clothes, the body, and then I've got the boots. So I am going to stay within the boundary of the book, and bring them down a little bit. So it's important to make sure that you're gauging your project all the time. So I think the boots are going to go on first. I mean, go down to the bottom. All right, so let's pull this aside, and I'm going to pick my hat up again. And now I'm going to leave that paper there, but I'm going to fill for the top of the book. And I'm going to bring the hat down just a little bit. Okay, and like I said, it can be straight. This is about the middle of his body. The hat goes to the middle of his body. So I think maybe about right there. Okay, and that will be the first thing that I would put on. Let me take that paper out just for a second. It's a little over. I think it'll be fine. Okay, put the paper back on. And just make sure it's a flat surface. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to heat that up. All right, for the same recommended 320 for 15 seconds, because that worked pretty well. I'm going to apply good pressure to this just because it's an even surface that we're working on. So just putting more pressure on. Okay. Give it a second to cool down. A few seconds to cool down. I'll lift my up to make sure that it's stuck. It's good. Okay. Now make sure you keep these pieces because you might need them again to cover, or you can use your parchment sheet, one or the other. Kind of like using the parchment sheet's easier. Okay. So now we're going to either put on, well, let's put on the white first because the white butts up against the blue. All right. So just try to get it as best you can lined up to the top of the hat. Okay. And just butt it up against, not overlaying. Okay. All right. We're going to go ahead and press that. Get my parchment paper on here. Start my Cricut. And then now I can see that that's lifting up right there, so it didn't attach. So I'm going to take this paper out because I already did the top. Already good with that because it's got to be flat. And do this one more time. Okay, press it really hard. I'm even gonna move it back and forth a little bit while applying the pressure. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, much better. Much better. Yep, you can see the outline of the book here too, which will be fine. Let me see if that's stuck okay. And it did. And don't forget, we're going to press this again over and over again as we lay these layers down. So even if it didn't catch that first time, you have plenty of opportunity for it to catch again. Now this is going to be a little tricky because that white's hard to see, but if you lay it in there, butt it up against that white again, it should be just fine. Okay, so what I think I'm going to do this time is I'm just going to cover the hat with the piece that was already there instead of using the transfer tip, because I want to make sure that that heat gets on there really well because of the uneven surface. Okay, let's go ahead and get it on there. I'll apply good pressure. Okay. Lift it up, let it cool a second. Need to wait for it to cool down a little bit more. Doing it on a book like this is a little more tricky. You may have to press it a couple times, but like I said, we'll be pressing this over and over again, so it'll give it an opportunity to stick better. Okay, looks like it's sticking okay. I'm not 100% happy with it, but we are going to press it again. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to lift this piece up, and I am going to apply the beard next. Okay, and the beard, I'm just butting up against the top of the hat here. This is okay, it's not touching because we do have another piece that's going to go over that. So we just want to make sure that this is butted up right here. Okay. And then go ahead and what I'm going to do is I'm going to, since this is covering all of that, I'm just going to cut this down a little bit. I just want to make sure that it's not going over my beard here. I want the beard to be pressed really well. Okay, and while everything else is protected. Okay. Let's go ahead and get that on. Let's make sure there's a lot of pressure on it. I'll rock it back and forth just a little bit. Not a lot though. Apply really good pressure. It just has to be, we're just trying to apply even pressure. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it on a couple of extra seconds as well. Okay. Then we want that to cool really well. And then what we're going to do is put on the little piece of the bottom of the hat. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. That'll be the next piece that we apply. So it is, I can tell that it is not sticking as well as I want it to, but that's all right. By the time we're done, we're gonna see it's not sticking. I think I'm gonna go ahead and press that again. It's just not good enough for my length. Okay. Oh, just really put this pressure on. That's just the hard part about doing a canvas that is not flat. This time I'll try to get it going as best I can. Oh, and I see that it got the ends of the book there. Okay, that probably wasn't too good. That's okay, I'm going to clean that up. And I like to show you, things that happen that aren't planned, so you know what to do. Yeah, that stuck much better. As a matter of fact, it did stick much better, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut this down a little bit because I need to put on my hat now. My hat piece is going to butt up against the hat and go on the nose. Let's just get it in place. So I've got a little bit of the white part here. Okay. Don't want that overlapping. Okay. And I've got a little bit of the white showing there, so I am going to use just a little bit of the hat because all I want to do, I don't care if I don't care if it overlaps on top of the transfer paper. I just don't want to overlap on top of the part that I'm trying to press down. But I want the whole thing protected because we don't want these lines going through the gnome. All right, let's get this guy cuff on. Apply the pressure. Give it a few seconds to cool down. I don't know if the book's coming through or if it was wiping off from my Cricut. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cover, I should have done this in the first place, but I'm going to cover my book. All right. That probably would help. All right, let me check the blue. And it's good. That's good. Okay. All right, let's put that back on top of there. So the next piece is the body part. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut this at an angle. Actually, I'm just going to take that off. I think it might be too hard to do this. It's going to cover up some of the white and then we'll work with other pieces. So that butts up against there. Try not to layer too much vinyl so that it can stick to the surface of what I'm applying it to. All right. Now let me go back and put this transfer back on the beard. Just use this piece. Oh, it's not going to be big enough. Get the beard piece right here, so I just use the beard piece. Put the beard piece back on where it's to cover the rest of the beard. And then cover the rest of that. All right, so we're working down here. I'm gonna put that paper back underneath here to give it a better flat surface. Okay, and then press with hard pressure. Okay, let that cool down a little bit. Yep, that's stuck pretty good. All right. So just want to remove the blue piece, the blue transfer paper, and then put the shoes on under. Lift that up, and then just wherever you want to put the shoes. I'm just going to make it so that it's not touching the beard. Like that. Okay, everything's covered except for these two little spots on the blue. So I'm just going to use some pieces I have over here just to cover that up. Okay, go ahead and get those pressed on. Okay, so I recommend not to rock and roll your press because it made those lines, and then not to leave it on any more than what it suggests. If you need to press again, that's fine, but I'm finding that if I stick to exactly what the recommendations are, the better it is sticking. Just check it real quick. Yep, that stuck really well. So I'm just going to leave all of that on there and peel off the beard part. All right, let me put those aside because now we're going to put on his little nose, and we will put on the, oh, now I just have to make sure I'm going the right way. Yep, the flatter edge is on the bottom. Let's put it up against there. Lay it down, make sure there's nothing on there. think I get it off just a little bit. Okay, that looks good. Then I've got the sign next. I was going to go right in the middle of his beard, like that. Then I've got the little mittens. So it's going to go just like that. I'm going to go ahead and put the mittens on last though, because they're going to overlay. So let's just cover up our exposed parts. Just have a little bit of the beard on both sides. So let me just cut some pieces, cover those up. Just make sure you're not going over the nose or this piece, the pieces that we are trying to apply. Okay, go ahead and get those on. I think I'm going to make him bigger and put him on a t-shirt. I think he's really cute. But I want to show you how you can do this on the canvas. And two different ways to use a canvas as well. This is a little more difficult, but you can, I mean, obviously you can still do it. Okay, let's see, that's stuck. I think too, if you let it cool down a little longer than I'm letting it cool down, it's going to adhere a lot better. Okay, so that nose is done, but I'm going to leave the piece on. The sign is done. It's not quite sticking as well as I'd like it to. So what I'm going to do is pull up the side. And I'm just going to cut off this transfer just kind of diagonally because my glove is going to go there. And I want to leave this on covered while I'm applying that. Okay, so let me take a glove. So you want to make sure when you put the gloves on or any other piece on that the full glove is touching the canvas and there's no other transfer tape underneath it that you're hiding. Just make sure that that glove is going to go completely onto the canvas. Otherwise it's going to stick to the other transfer sheet and then you're going to have a problem. All right, so let's go ahead and cover up the rest just by using some of the old transfer sheet stuff. I just don't want to interfere with the mittens. I think that'll work. Okay. All right, so everything's covered. Got the mittens just touching the canvas. Let me get my machine and go ahead and press. I'm using hard pressure. Okay. All right. We'll let that cool down a little bit. I'm pretty pleased with the way they both turned out. I think they were enjoyable to make, and I think you're going to enjoy making them as well.